We were all headed for the same entry point, which is near Brownsville, Texas, MAM, the VORTAC. So we're on this converging path. We picked our way through the weather. It wasn't going to be an issue. I turned on the cockpit lights full bright, the thunderstorm switch, if you know, what have you, and proceed to eat my catering. I'm having a conversation with my first officer, and I'm like, hey, we're going to have a weekend in Toluca. I'll show you around, if you're interested. And he's like, yeah, we're, talking about what we're going to do. And just about that time, I see his eyes kind of move to the right, and they get about, big. His eyes open up wide, and he's like, oh, look at the shooting stuff. And he stops, and, right there, he didn't get the word star out. And I'm looking at him going, what the hell is wrong with this kid? What's he looking at?
Chris Lado, welcome to Lado Files.
And he stops, and, right there, he didn't get the word star out. And I'm looking at him going, what the hell is wrong with this kid? What's he looking at? And he's not a kid. The guy did 20 years as an F-15, I think, pilot in the Air Force. So he did a full 20. Experienced guy as well. Anyway, so I'm looking at him going, what's he looking at, And I turned and I look over my shoulder, kind of, his eyes were telegraphing where he was looking. So I look over my left shoulder, and all of a sudden I looked up at probably about a 30-degree angle. It's like right there, man. It had to have been a few thousand feet away from us. And I was like, oh my God, it's another aircraft. And, he's got a vector, and he's turning into us, and my heart's racing because I had an RA a few months prior on the East Coast of Florida. And those things will get your heart pumping. Even right now, my heart's starting to elevate.
What's an RA?
I'm sorry. Resolution advisory. Basically, the traffic alert and collision avoidance systems on our airplanes will deconflict you. And if you're within 45 seconds to a minute of imminent collision, you'll get a caution. Proximity traffic, then it goes to yellow caution, and then a red, hey, do something, and it's telling you what to do. It screams at you. So here I am going, oh my God, it's another airplane. The reason I thought that is I look out, it's just like in the video, if you can imagine a lighthouse in some thin fog as it's rotating, and you see the light going, across the horizon. This thing gets a light on, it hits the nose of the aircraft, flashes through the cockpit windows, and it kind of runs down the fuselage of the airplane. And at this point, I drop whatever it was I was eating. I grab the throttles, I grab the yoke, and I'm getting ready to disconnect them. I'm looking down at my instruments. I'm looking for, commands of to descend. I'm expecting to hear oral, traffic, descend now. The whole system will work in concert to avoid a collision, because that's what I thought was happening. I thought an airplane was turning into us, and my heart's racing. And I look in my nav display, and there's nothing. I mean, nothing. And I'm like, what? And so I take the range down to minimum, which is, if you go to minimum, it's like the whole entire screen is 5 miles. And it puts us in the center, obviously, every time. It's just the range changes. And there's nothing there, And we'll even get commands in the HUD, and there's nothing in the HUD. And my heart's racing, and I'm like, look at this clown, he's turning into us. And I remember saying that to him, and I said, turn out the thunderstorm light, because I didn't know what the hell was going on. And so he turns the light off, and I'm still on, because I didn't want to touch anything else other than the yoke and the throttles, man. That's it. Because
So Erik, you mentioned you're talking to your co-pilot here, and you had the thunderstorm lights full up. So
yes,
this is the full lighting, basically. Is this thunderstorm lights up or down?
No, right here, the light's off, and the lighting that's in the cockpit are the instrumentation only. So this would be your classic night flying. However, I don't fly with them this bright. They're kind of dumbed down.
Yeah, that's them, because you're able to see this light, or the co-pilot does first. It must have been really bright. Is my
yes,
yes. You're eating your dinner, right? So you're in the cockpit, and me, night vision goggles. We would fly with night vision goggles. But it would take about 20 minutes before my vision would get accustomed, to land. You have to do it 5 minutes before you got to remove your night vision goggles.
And even the instrumentation, it takes a few minutes for the light emitting diodes that receive the ambient lighting to make the self adjustments. Now you can override it to make it go quicker, but usually we'll give it a few minutes for that process to complete. But it's the same thing with the rods and cones in your eyes. It's going to take a little while. If you really, it's not very quick.
Yeah. So I guess when the co-pilot, when you see his eyes just light up, he kind of looks off to the side and his eyes light up, it must have been bright, I guess. And you say it's right there. It must have been very bright.
Yeah, it was. If you probably stared at it for longer than a few seconds, you would probably have a burn in your retina for a little while, kind of like looking at the sun for a little bit and then turning away. It was extremely bright, which is, and then it's moving, and I was like, oh my God, we're gonna have an imminent collision. So up to this point, I'm thinking this is another aircraft, and there was no excitement other than, oh my God, look at this clown, he's turning into us. Is this guy for real? I think I said that. And then, a few minutes go by and the orb kind of backs off a little bit distance wise. And then it kind of starts sliding aft real slow, almost like a lead change, like we used to do in when we used to fly what we called cell formation. You pass the lead to the next guy. And so the flight lead is going to, pull his power and slowly slide back and let the other guy take in, and move into position. That's kind of the movement this thing was doing. And then it parked itself off our left wingtip. And it was about that time. It took me like about 3 minutes to get to my senses. Like, am I looking at what I think I'm looking at? And at that point, I'm like, okay, I need to paint this guy on radar. Is this real? And he was out of it. I waited too long. Again, I thought it was an airplane. And he was out of my cone. We've got about 170-degree cone in front of the airplane where the radar can look out. I mean, it's a pretty wide cone. And he was out of that because now he was at my 9 to 8 o'clock. And I'm like, and I was told from some of the people that interviewed me over, because I've done several interviews, that this plasma ball of light, whatever, that somehow they're able even to foil radar. And all I said was, well, that's probably true. I wouldn't know because this is my first experience with it, but I would have liked the opportunity to paint this guy because even with a color weather radar, I can paint other airplanes. That's how good the radar is on this airplane.
Oh, excellent.
But it was too late. Yeah, he was out of my field of view at that point. And because like I said, I was waiting for this TCAS to scream at me to descend and, decelerate and turn away from whatever the imminent collision we were about to have. But it never happened. It never screamed. It never talked. We never had the visual cues either. And at that point, I'm getting excited. I'm thinking, am I looking at what I think I'm looking at? Where's my camera? So I dive into my bag and I pull out my Samsung 9S I had at the time. Fantastic camera on that phone. And I started rolling the video. And that was the long video I had, the initial one. And I explained to people, they're like, yeah, you sent us all your clips and video stills and clips. He goes, what's going on there? And I said, yeah. Let me explain. I initially shot a video that was almost 5 minutes long. And then we lost this thing in the weather, so we thought it was gone. So I stopped recording. And then he and I were talking, and I'm trying to send him, he had an iPhone, I have my Samsung. I'm trying to send him the stuff. It's too big. It won't do it. I'm like, dude, we'll have to wait till we land, and maybe I can Google it to you or something. And we're looking at the video, and oh, that was the other thing. So we're looking at the video, the replay, and we're seeing features. And we're like, look at this. Look, this is awesome. Because up until that point, with your naked eye, it just was bright, dim, and it was very cyclic. It didn't waver. And that's all you could see. But as I was holding the camera every now and then, that was the other thing too, that the camera kind of moves. That wasn't turbulence. I mean, we were in pretty smooth air. It was me, every now and then looking with my eyeball and I would, I was moving the camera. This thing was parked, Chris. It was solid. It was like in formation with us.
How accurate do you think this was? This History Channel simulation here they did.
It was fairly accurate because it, like I said, the first 3 minutes, the thing stopped. My first officer again saw the whole thing. He thought it was a shooting star, except it didn't keep going or it didn't pop, and explode. It just whacked and it just stopped right there. Then I turned around, saw it, and this thing, I guess, popped out of hyperspace or another dimension, whatever. I don't think it knew we were there either, and that's why it rotated, because you couldn't distinguish the front or the aft of this vehicle. Whatever it was, it was just a bright ball of light, bright dim. It wasn't until I'm looking through the lens of the camera as I'm filming it, or when I replay it, that we start to see a teardrop shape, and that's kind of what I was seeing in that video. Look, it's a teardrop as I'm looking through my camera, and then I'm looking with my eyeballs again, and I don't see that with my eyeballs. You just didn't see it. It was bright dim. So the camera on this thing was amazing.
Thank you for watching this clip. If you liked it, please like and subscribe to get notifications of future contents. I don't have any sponsorships, so if you want to get extra content, please go to patreon.com/Chris Lato and join the rest of these people. Thanks for being here. Peace.